Estrella del universo, escúchame este verso.
I did not come from a broken home, instead just the opposite. A loving family with problems, a victim of my surroundings. Our biggest obstacle was lack of education and poverty. Forced to do what was needed for a bit of food and security. It's hard to see the warmth of my family's slug turned into a cold hug because of money problems unresolved. 2 jobs ain't enough and still they grind harder than most. I'm pissed off at the world because we're now given no choice. And how did we get here? Our folks forced out of the country. You must be stupid, no one crosses the desert cause they want to. It's a necessity, a sacrifice for the family. You don't call them illegals, you call them economic refugees. In this part of the song, I would tell you, imagine how you felt. But I know you don't need to imagine, cause if you've been poor, then you know the feeling real to you vivid. Cause you smelled it, tasted, felt it, in other words you lived it.
Estrella del universo.
When it was decided to build a UC campus in La Jolla, a wall was created. A wall, intentionally or not, that was going to keep out working class students and students of color. A few would get in, but not enough. When Roger Revelle said, "I don't want any undergraduates at my campus with an IQ less than 140, a wall was created. With all the best intentions, but walls kept going up. In 2011, we're looking at another large wall being created. The privatization of the UC system, reduced access, higher costs. So that is our dilemma, and that is something that all of you, especially you students, are going to have to keep struggling against, to tear down those walls. Because if this mural says anything, it says this is a public university.
That's right.
This belongs to the people of California.
Escúchame este verso.
I turned my head away from anger, cause it would have been easy to pick up the pistol and bang on the ones I thought were responsible. Instead I dreamt in Spanish and stared at my hands. I saw the color on my skin, reminding me the days my grandpa said, "Nuestra sangre es pura y la cultura cura." I stopped talking and suddenly I heard the whispers in the city. "I share your pain," they said, "we also wanna be free." So instead of
everybody, raise your hand up. Acknowledge the reality that we all share.
we're counterculture like 70s punk rock, 80s hip-hop, 90s social struggles, 21st century anti-war movement. Like Oscar Heron's perspective on revolution, like reality to illusion, making sense out of confusion. Like two shoes and blind through the era of the press conference, Al Jazeera to mass media, news in this process. Counter like if you believe what we believe, it's obvious you ain't down to be part of Fox to see in its audience. Like Slumdog Millionaire presented something more than Bollywood. Counter like what the movie Jet offered to Hollywood. Bombing speakers, we can make them weaker quicker by adding crude counter postmodern culture to put you in our mood. It's like what Husky Radio and Divine Forces is to the hood. Like 90.7 is sentiment and principle rule. We're counterculture, kid, you can put this in the books, huh? Wishing we could reach you if we could, like struggles would. Olmeka brings it to the restless spirits who resist. Counterculture, kid, this is for the ones popular culture miss. Olmeka brings it to the restless spirits who resist. This is for the ones popular culture miss. Counterculture like rainbow coalition, like people with a mission, like groups with a purpose who refuse to compromise their vision. Grassroots actions turn to projects, then to movements. Counter like a people's movement is to an institution, like youngsters with a passion, a motive, and a conviction. For instance, take the few students who refuse to listen, walk out because they know the system's violations. Restless young brave spirits give us motivation, like veterans against the war, like soldiers who refuse to shoot at all. Like practice don't make perfect, they make sense, that's all. Like having crazy weight on shoulders but refuse to fall, like an insecure person who suddenly stands tall. Now some say I should give it up, I'll give it up when the feds hang it up on the other end and stop.
The other day, one of my freshman students said to me that when he was a prospective and he was visiting the campus with his family, he walked by the original hanging mural with his mother and father, and his father said to him, "Look, son, there we are. You have to come here." He had offers from UCLA, Berkeley, and other places, and he came. That family was Filipino. That family could be Chinese American. That family could be African American. That family could be Vietnamese.
Nature, with its laws and manifestations, is our university. The renewal of life, the wane of light, the ebb and flow of seas, all have lessons. The main features of modern culture are deep loss, feeling rootless, caught in the web of temporal time, in survival mode in the immediate and the shallow. Humanity is completing 5,200 years of an age marked by the rise of the so-called civilization, class societies, patriarchy, empire, and conquest. We are now in the precipice of a new age driven by the rising feminine balance, alignment, and coherency. We are nearing the end of empires and earth destruction. It's a choice more than a given. It requires consciousness more than timing. So let's challenge the status quo. Let's create alternatives and imagine the new. Underground hip-hop instead of mainstream rap.
I'm a biology major, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about seeds. Seeds are tricky in the sense that from one little seed, you can get a lot of things. This seed was planted a few years ago, and the thing about seeds is that a lot of times they don't come to fruition right away. They have a dormancy period, and they're just waiting for a trigger to come. So everybody who was involved in the putting up of this mosaic and everything around it, we were all those environmental triggers that caused that dormancy to finish and for the seed to come into fruition. Tupac once said that if you see a rose growing out of the concrete, you're not going to hate on the rose, you're going to be like, oh shit, there's a rose growing out of the concrete. The mural behind me is that rose that grew out of the concrete, and I wanted to share that with all of you. This is the first step in transforming UC San Diego into a more open campus, and in the words of my friend Sam Foster, if you didn't know that, you better ask somebody.
Follow the signs, follow the prophets, the poets, and trust in la contracultura.
They said we also wanna be free. So instead of throwing up signs or throwing rocks at buildings, I threw my fist in the air and joined the rest of the children.